Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Beer Rating with Sean Connors. This is another special episode of my beer advent calendar. So basically, if you haven't been following along, I have a box of beer. It's 24 beers, just like a regular, advent calendar you get as a kid, but instead of chocolate behind the doors, it's a German beer. I mean, how much better can you get? So today we're on day 7, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I have a basic idea which beers I'm getting. All the beers on the box are listed on the side. However, I don't know which beer I'm going to get which day. So basically, it's a crapshoot. I open up the door, and whatever I get, I get. Now, normally with my reviews, I know what beer I'm getting, pre-advent calendar. So normally what I do a little bit of research on either the beer or the brewery, just so I have a little bit to talk about. This one, I don't have the luxury to know what I'm getting, so I really can't do that. However, there is a beer app which they recommend you use. It's beertasting.app, and basically it's a pretty cool app. You actually take a picture of the beer can, and it checks its database, and it gives you a little bit of information. Preferably, well, normally they give you a little bit of information on the brewery or the beer being made, but they don't actually give you a little bit of information on the beer type. That's really what I like. I like, a little bit of background on the Hells and Marzens or whatever the case might be. But it's a pretty neat app all the same. Next year I'd hope they add a little bit more to it. That's only my own personal preference. As well, I have some index cards here from the Cicerone Institute, which is out of Chicago. And that's an institute, basically, if you want to become a beer expert, a Cicerone. You get different levels, and they're a study guide. They're like little index cards, and they talk about different types of beers. So with whatever beer I got, I'll check the index cards, see if I can get information. If not, I got a couple other resources which I can try. So we'll go from there. So today we're at day 7. So the 7 is right up in the corner. So you punch it out, and then, ta-da, you have a glorious beer. And I have no idea what I'm getting, so I'm going to flip this around just so I can read the beer. And actually, I still don't even know what beer I'm getting. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see the beer. Actually, probably, I was going to say the same time as me, but you're going to see it a little bit before me because I haven't even looked at the label yet. So there you go. I can't really tell what that is. All the beers, they're German beers and they're imported from Germany. So the labels are 90% German, so I really can't read the labels. Every now and then, I can pick out a word or two. So we'll wing it. It's worked out so far. Alright, so, Eaglebrau, and I'm not sure, but I believe the Brau is brewery or somewhere around there. It's a Weizenbier Dunkel. So I know Weizenbier means it's a wheat beer. Also, some areas they might call it a wheat beer. And Dunkel, I don't know the direct translation, but I think it's dark or something like that. So with that being said, I'm pretty sure what we're going to get here is a dark wheat beer. Excellent. So let's see what we got on the box here. Okay. They just say Eaglebrau Weizenbier Dunkel Weizen, 5.3% alcohol. So that's all the information I'm getting. So basically 5.3, it's average, maybe a little tiny bit higher what we're used to here in North America, but not by much. Like I said, Dunkelweiser, so it's going to be a dark wheat beer. And I'm going to use my wheat beer glass, and also known as a Weizen glass. This is similar shape to a Pilsen glass, and this is one. Well, these are Pilsen glasses. This one's a little bit different, but this would be more along your traditional Pilsen glass. So as you can see, there are some similarities. However, the Weizen glass is normally bigger. I'm just going to put that to the side. Normally holds about a half liter, and the Weizen glass also has more curvature to it. As you can see, this one, it's pretty straight up. This other Pilsen glass got a little bit of a turn in it, but it's not curved as per your Weizen glass. So what they say, a little bit of information on the glass. They say it has a strong, narrow base with distinct curves as it goes up. As you can see, strong, narrow base. Half liter, and it's much taller than the Pilsner glass. And they say it normally has a curved lip up here, and basically that's it helps enclose the head And by enclosing the head, basically they're entrapping the aroma and the flavor of the beer. So there you go, a little bit about a Weissenglass. Another thing about Weissenglass, a lot of wheat beers, if you order them, I don't know about in Europe and other places in the world, but in North America here, a lot of times if you're in a bar or restaurant, you order a wheat beer, it actually comes with a piece of fruit, whether it be a piece of lemon, a piece of lime, or a piece of orange. It's normally some type of citrus. They actually recommend, the beer experts actually recommend to pass on the fruit. It's a nice little garnish, it looks nice and everything else, but the acidity in the fruit will actually kill the head of your beer. That's one thing you don't want. Alright, so I'll pour it up, and as soon as I got it poured, I'll take a sniff, and then I'll take a taste. So I want to do that pretty quickly, as I don't want to lose any aroma or flavor. So it's a pretty thick head, which is normal for a wheat beer or a white beer. As I said, it's a Dunkel, so I knew it was going to be dark, and sure enough, now I've seen darker. This is kind of interesting because actually look at the color. It seems to be a little bit darker at the top. Alright. It's got a strong aroma, a little bit more than what you get with your Pilsner or your other lighter beers. Now flavor wise, let's see. I've had Dunkels before, it's not my first, and they are a little bit stronger flavor, I find, and this one's no different. Not in a bad way by any means, but it's not, in my opinion, I don't know, I'm not a beer expert, I'm not a Cicerone, but they're not a light beer, Dunkels in general. It's a tasty beer, I'll give it that much. Okay, let's see, I'll check my cue cards first of all. And these don't have all the beers, but they do have a Dunkel Weizenbier, which is, yeah. Alright, so let's see what they're going to say about the Dunkel Weizenbiers. Bear with me, folks, as I find it in my cards. Alright, a Dunkel Weizenbier, they say for color, it's anywhere from amber to brown, and that's definitely, I would say, close to brown. Bitterness is a 1 out of 5. They have 10 to 18 IBUs, and I think that's international bitter units. I could be wrong, but we'll go with that for now. The normal alcohol content, 4.3 to 5.6, and we said this one was 5.3, so right there we got it. And for flavor and balance, they say banana and clove fermentation profile balanced by toast and caramel flavors used from the use of Munich and Vienna style malts. And actually I can get the caramel flavor for sure. I actually said in my last episode, a lot of beer experts and just chefs and people that work in that type of industry, they can sample something and they can pick out the elements of it. Unfortunately, I'm not that type of guy. I'm a cook as well, but I either like it or I don't, and a lot of times I can't narrow why I don't like something or why I do like something. I'm a simple beer drinker, I either like it or I don't. I can't tell you, I can talk a little bit about beer, but to taste a beer and pick out the individual elements, it's just not me. History, they say a dark variation of Weiser beer, German versions of the style must include at least 50% wheat malt. And I'm pretty sure if I'm going to, like I said, well, it's brewed in Germany as per expected. Ingredients, water, wheat malt, barley malt, and hops. And once again, they don't mention yeast in any of the beers so far, but obviously there is yeast. The only thing I can think why they don't add yeast to the can, and I could be wrong, if I am and you know it, by all means comment, is that they actually have a thing on the box that says, in this box you will find 24 exclusive import beers from Germany. All the beers in this box are produced following the regulations of the German purity laws dating back to the year 1516. And I said it before, but I'll say it again. The purity laws were put in place basically saying this is in Germany, or Bavaria I believe at the time, that they were restricted with the 3 ingredients being water, barley, and hops. And they made an exception for wheat because apparently the royalty at the times were wheat beer drinkers. Now, they don't mention yeast, but the reason behind that is because at the time, this was pre-Louis Pasteur. And Louis Pasteur, he's the man that discovered bacteria, germs, that type of thing. And he was actually, when he discovered those things, he was actually working for the beer industry. A lot of people think he was working for the dairy industry, when in fact he was working for the beer industry. So prior to that, there was yeast. Obviously, yeast is required to make beer, to make the alcohol content. However, prior to that, it was wild yeast. And what I mean by that is basically the beers were mixed and then they were left overnight or for whatever period of time in an open container. And basically the yeast in the air would ferment the beers. And at the time, people didn't know anything about yeast, so they just figured, okay, if we were loyal to our superior being, God, or whatever, your superior being, he would ensure the mixture turned into beer. So there you go. So that's the reason I think they don't add it, because they're specifically saying all the beers go according to purity laws. So, but obviously there is yeast has to be used. And I don't think these beers are what are known today as wild beers. And I actually did a review there a while ago with some Belgium lambics, and they were fruit-flavored beers, and they were all using wild beers. They were wild beers. So there you go. All right, let's check the app, see what information we're going to get. Let me take a sip before I do. The Eagle, let's see. The Eagle has landed. Like I said, this app, beertasting.app, pretty straightforward. Take a picture. As soon as you take the picture, it checks your database, and it didn't work that time. I think it's just because my hand was shaking. Alright, it found it. The Eaglebrau Weizenbier Dunkel. They call it a dark hefeweizen, which basically means dark wheat beer, 5.3% alcohol. It's top fermented, which is different than several other beers I had. So basically, top fermented basically means it's an ale and not a lager. All beers can be broken into either ales or lagers, and you're either, they say top fermented or bottom fermented, and that means basically the yeast, when it turns the alcohol, the sugars into alcohol, it actually works from the top of the mixture or the bottom. If it's an ale, it's from the top. A lager, it's from the bottom. Alright, for the beer description, they say, since the 1920s, the small town of Grobkollenbach, what looks like a B, K-O-L-L-E-N, sorry, G-O-B-K-O-L-L-N-B-A-C-H, so I'm going Grobkollenbach, is home to the prestigious breweries Egerer, E-G-E-R-E-R. Today the brewery is owned by the same family, now in the 4th generation. Purest water from its own well, the Heineck Franz well, is only one of the key ingredients to make great beers from Egerer. Malt sourced from regional producers and hops from the nearby Hallertau finalize the product. Hazy brown body with red and orange tints. The body is topped by an off-white head that leaves little lacing. Pronounced components of clean clothing. Pronounced component of clean clothing. I have no idea what they're referring to there. It says leather and grain, wheat with subtle hops, about equal bitter and sweet balance. Mild baked bread flavor is the aftertaste. Near medium body and medium low carbonation. I gotta read that. Pronounced component of clean clothing. I have no idea what they're talking about there. And that's about it. So there you go, folks. That's a little bit about the beer. Now, to give it a rating. My ratings are always out of 5. It's either a full number or a half. 1 being, don't like it, can't finish it, it's going down the drain. Doesn't happen very often. A 2 is, not a fan, but I'm not going to waste it, so I'll finish it. A 3 being a good beer, a 4 being a very good beer, and a 5 being the best beer ever. To give this one a rating, Now these ratings are my own personal preference. With that being said, I have a tendency, obviously certain beer styles I like more than others. So if it's a beer style I don't generally drink, I'm not going to give it a rating just because of that. Because, you know, if it's a, I got to give it, I try to give it a rating of, for the style of beer, if that makes any sense. So if I don't like porters, I'm not going to give all porters a low number, because I know it's probably not going to be my preference, so I got to take that in consideration. Hopefully that makes some sense. So to give this one a rating, dark beers, I don't mind them, but it's definitely not my go-to beer. One thing I do like about the Weizen glass is the opening is pretty big, so when you're drinking the beer, your nose actually has a tendency to almost go into the glass, and with that you're getting all the aromas, which is kind of cool. Alright, but I gotta give it a rating. So the Eaglebrau Dunkel Weizenbier, I'm gonna give it a I think I'm comfortable giving a 3.5, which is in between a good beer and a very good beer. It's easy drinking for a dark beer, so if you're not a dark beer drinker, or you're not familiar, or you haven't had a lot of experience with dark beers, it's probably a nice one to start off with, because it's not like a stout or a porter, which is kind of like oof right in your face. This is kind of smooth drinking. It's flavorful, but not overly flavorful. So it's not a bad beer. So I think 3.5 is a good rating. So there you go, folks. That's my rating for the Eaglebrau Dunkel, Weizen Dunkel, 3.5. And hopefully you can join me tomorrow night. We'll tap this open again and see what beer we have tomorrow. So folks, there you go. Until next beer, as always, enjoy responsibly. Cheers.